Welcome back. Biblical Geography, Lecture 21. Paul's voyage to Rome, bottom of the third so-called page. Well, their warnings proved to be accurate. While in Jerusalem, Paul was arrested and put in jail. He then was moved to Caesarea after finding out that there was a plot to kill himself. Paul remained in Caesarea under arrest until Porcius Festus replaced Felix in AD 60. And then Festus and Agrippa II heard Paul's eloquent testimony but remained unmoved, even though they agreed Paul had done nothing to deserve imprisonment or death. Had Paul not appealed to Caesar, as was his privilege as a Roman citizen, he might have been set free then. However, Paul's appeal set him on a voyage to Rome. Let's look at this. So there's Caesarea on the right corner, bottom corner. It was up there from Jerusalem, and then this is the travel as we'll see it. You see Sidon, and then over to Myra, and then to the island of Crete, and then this crazy, stormy Euroclydon storm to Malta. So we'll look at that as we go on. Accompanied by Aristarchus from Thessalonica, Luke, and in the custody of the centurion Julius, Paul joined other prisoners for a 2,000-mile voyage to Rome. Well, that's not by speedboat.
Right.
Or speedcraft. That's by wind. How long would it take to do that? 6 months maybe? Paul embarked on a small trading vessel heading to home port at Adramyttium, a city on the northeast coast of Asia Minor. Do we see that one? Is that there? No. Oh yeah. Well, that's where he was headed for. Okay. Didn't quite make it there. He was headed for that. The initial phase of the trip followed the coast to Sidon. See that? Bottom right. And then headed northwest past the lee of Cyprus, because the winds were against us. Upon arrival at Myra, find that one, the centurion located a much larger Alexandrian grain freighter bound for Rome. Got in a larger ship there at Myra. These great ships supplied Rome with wheat. The largest freighters measured 180 feet long with a beam width of 50 feet. Paul and his party joined the 276 crew members and passengers found on board for Italy. So think about a football field and at the 50-yard line, from the goal line to the 50-yard line, probably not quite that wide, but that long of a ship. So pretty good size.
Some serious trees back then.
Yeah. Making for Salmone on the eastern tip of Crete, see that? The pilot sailed to Fair Havens, a small harbor in southern Crete. Paul considered remaining in Fair Havens for the winter, but he was a prisoner, so. But those in charge suggested wintering at I forget what it was called, but Phoenix on the Cretan coast. A different name for it. There it is. So you see it on the map. Some 40 miles to the west. So let's go to Phoenix instead. The dash towards Phoenix, following favorable light winds, became a 14-day nightmare when gale-force winds drove the ship southwestward to the small island of Cauda. It doesn't look like an island here, but it's a small island. The crew fought to gain control of the vessel using sea anchors and jettisoning cargo in a desperate bid to avoid the deadly shallows of North Africa known as Syrtis Major. Drifting helplessly for several days, the crew lost any hope of rescue. On the 14th night, so this is, the 14 days were from Fair Havens onward. It wasn't like 14 days to get to Cauda. I think they kind of wrote that wrong. It was 14 days from Fair Havens to Malta. On the 14th night, the vessel approached land, and the crew feared the ship would be smashed against the rocks. After, jumping ship, the survivors discovered they had landed on the island of Malta. So Malta is out there between Sicily and northern Africa. There's not too many things to run into out there.
It looks like a tiny little dot.
Good thing they ran into that.
Yeah.
Or God had them run into it.
Amen.
Yeah. 3 months later, in the custody of Julius, Paul boarded another Egyptian grain ship bound for Italy. The ship put in at Syracuse in Sicily. See, find that? Okay, and then sailed on to Rhegium. Catching a favorable wind, the ship sailed on to Puteoli in the Gulf of Naples. I used to live in Puteoli. We call it Puteoli, or they called it Puteoli. I used to live there. Liar. No, I did. I lived there. It was military housing. stacked, I think 12 stories, about 2 or 4 of those buildings, and I watched a video of them tearing them down. And dynamited them a few years ago to put a high-rise resort, so the military are out. Anyways, Pozzuoli and the Gulf of Naples. Okay, Puteoli was a major port receiving the grain supply from Egypt, vital to Rome. Believers at Puteoli hosted Paul for a week, and then after adequate rest, Paul's party headed north along the Via Campana to Capua, and then by the Via Appia, the Appian Way, to Rome. Look at that on the map. Upon hearing of Paul's arrival in Italy, groups of Roman Christians went to greet the apostle at 2 way stations on the, not way, as in, at 2 ways, 2-way, I guess they're called way stations. I'm thinking of that as truckway stops, but on the Via Appia, the Forum of Appius, and 3 taverns, 33 miles from Rome. They had a grocery store there, I think, and a gas station. 3 taverns. According to Acts, Paul spent 2 years in Rome, preaching the gospel with confidence and boldness, awaiting the adjudication of his appeal to Nero, or Caesar at the time. All right, look at that trip. That was a long one. All in the will of God.
Amen.
Quite the trip indeed for Paul. So, is that it? Or we got another page? Oh, I got mixed up here. I was all confused. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Take a break.